I'm Karen Goff. I am the guidance coordinator here at Marshfield High School. I want to thank everyone for bearing this frigid weather and coming out here tonight. I was a little nervous of what the turnout would be because of that, so super thankful that you all decided to come tonight. So tonight we have a college panel. We have 6 different colleges coming. UConn had a little issue with their car, so they'll be a little bit late. So when he arrives, he'll slide in right at the end. But I just wanted to take a moment and just mention what we've been working with all the juniors. We did invite all grades to come here tonight. The focus is primarily on juniors as they're going to be entering the college admissions process. We've been working closely with the juniors in small groups during Flex, but we've also been working with the students one-on-one. So if we have any juniors in here who has not scheduled your guidance appointment yet, make sure you get on there and do that. The students all have access to our calendars, so that way they can schedule an appointment directly with us during a time that works for them, preferably study halls. And in addition to that, what we do with the students is we go through the junior college planning checklist, which we gave out to parents and all of you tonight. But we also go through SCORE, and we look at the different colleges that students are applying to and try to help them work on their lists. And then, of course, next year we'll continue this with them when they're seniors. But without any further ado, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, talk about their college, and then we'll kind of have like an open question Q&A session. So we have some questions that we put together to help guide the conversation, but at any point, if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand and ask your questions. We want you to get as much as possible out of this evening.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Gershio. I'm here on behalf of Worcester Polytechnic Institute, WPI, out in Worcester, Massachusetts. If you're new to hearing about us, we have about 5,500 undergraduate students, so right in that small, medium size. And we're primarily known for our STEM majors, but we do have 3 different kind of schools in terms of housing our majors on campus. So besides that School of Engineering, which has a lot of our popular, really specific options, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, and robotics engineering are currently our top 3. We have a College of Arts and Sciences as well, so we do have a number of humanities, science majors, some unique programs within there as well that kind of do the overlap between humanities and arts, and then STEM. Interactive media and game development, or IMGD, is kind of an up-and-coming one that we get a lot of students. It's a small program because it's very niche, but for students who are looking for something like that, it is a great choice. And then we also have a business school as well, which has our smallest number of majors, but definitely a number of great options. Business right now is our #1 minor. So when you apply to WPI, one great thing to know if you're considering a school like us is we do what's called institutional acceptance. So you don't have to know what major you want. You don't have to apply into one of those 3 different divisions. When you're admitted to WPI, we're accepting you to the school as a whole, and then you do have the option to choose a major or to change a major. You can come in totally undecided and take some courses and figure out where you'd like to go from there. And then in terms of our campus, we do have a residential campus, again, right in Worcester itself. There are a small percentage of students who do commute if they're within about 30-mile radius, but most of our students are right there in or right around our campus. So happy to answer any questions that you may have for me later in the program. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Phil Baird. I'm one of the assistant directors of admissions at UMass Amherst. I myself am a proud alumnus of the university. I graduated in 2023 and have been working for the university since. Listening to WPI, I was like, oh, we're a very different school than them. So we're the flagship university of Massachusetts. We're out in Amherst, Mass. From here, it's probably like a 2-hour drive. Obviously, give or take with traffic, obviously. We're a large school, 23,000 undergraduate students. There's about 7,000 additional graduates on our campus. It is a big, big campus, separate from the town, but it's a very quick 5-minute walk right to downtown Amherst. It's a great college town. It's not just us out there. There's 4 other colleges in our area. It's the 5 college consortium, so you get to take classes at those other schools if you choose to do so. Same price as UMass, so you're paying that in-state public school tuition, but taking classes at these other smaller private schools, so it's a really cool opportunity. We have about 90 different majors on our campus within 10 different schools and colleges. Different than WPI, you have to choose a major to come to us. You can't really come in as undecided. We have a couple options for students who are undecided, but you have to be kind of decided, but still undecided. So it's like undecided within natural sciences, undecided within humanities and fine arts, within public health, things like that. Popular majors on our campus, the business school, Eisenberg School of Management, our nursing school, computer sciences, engineering, psychology, architecture, those are like the real popular and competitive programs, just because there's a lot of students applying into those majors. And there's only so many open seats, obviously, right? We don't want people sitting on the ground in class, no one wants that. So gotta cap it at some point. Just some things about the school in general. Like I said, big school, right? Students from all over the country, all over the world. There's about 78 countries represented on our campus, 48 states. No North Dakota, no Arkansas. Don't know why they don't want to come to us, but they don't. It's whatever. So you're meeting people from all over the place. There's tons of clubs. There's about 400 different clubs on campus. So you can get involved in really whatever you want to do. And then the best thing about our school is our food. So we are ranked #1 dining in the country by the Princeton Review for 9 straight years. Not to flex on anyone else, but the food is really good. I can attest to that as I ate there for 4.5 years as a student. So yeah, I'll obviously talk more about it later on, but thanks for having me tonight.
Hi everyone, I can actually say that I've had the food at UMass and it's delicious, and multiple dining halls actually. And I didn't go to UMass, so just as a visitor. But my name is Allie Hennessy. I work as a Senior Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Northeastern University in Boston. We actually have 3 undergraduate campuses, one in Boston that you're probably most familiar with, one in Oakland, California, so we're bi-coastal, and then one in London. So we are a global network university. So that gives students a lot of options for a lot of different types of experiences. 3 completely different campuses as far as vibe, size, but continuing this focus on academic flexibility and experiential learning. So we have just about 20,000 undergraduate students and another 6,500 graduate students. On the Boston campus at any given time, like 15,000. Oakland campus is like a couple hundred, and London is about 1,000. So very different, right? To speak to academic flexibility, we have just over 230 different majors across 8 academic colleges and programs. Anything from computer science to communications, biology, nursing, history, sociology, a little bit of everything. We also have what are called combined majors, which are pretty unique to Northeastern, where we're just making it easier for you to combine 2 majors from 2 different colleges and study both instead of doing like a full-blown double major, which you can still do. The combined major allows you to actually take courses to see how those 2 areas relate to each other. So my favorite is physics and music, super interesting, or a popular one, business administration and health science, or business administration and computer science. Just some interesting, fun, unique combinations there. Experiential learning, we are known for our co-op program. So unlike a typical internship, students that are co-ops would do a 6-month period of full-time work experience in an entry-level position. So they're not taking classes for 6 months straight, which is great because you don't have homework. And you are doing this in addition to 8 equivalent academic semesters, so it's not less class, but in addition to. And it's great, it just gives students a great opportunity to figure out what they like, and I think more importantly, what they don't like to do, as they're fully immersed in an entry-level position. So happy to answer a million more questions, but I'll hand it over.
Hello, this is Sharon Peterson from Bridgewater State University. I am a transfer and first-year counselor, so I have the ability to handle 2 different populations. So we take in almost as many transfer students as we do first years. So if you happen to do the transfer route, you aren't alone. We are primarily, obviously, known as a teaching college. That was how Bridgewater was founded. But what many people don't always realize is that there is so much more just beyond the teaching that we have. We are divided into what we call our colleges, but they range from everywhere from the business to the arts and sciences, humanities, social sciences, the business, the math, all of those things. So again, education is how we were founded, but that's not only the thing that we have. Criminal justice, psychology, management, those are all really big programs for us. One unique program that we have is our flight training program. So students can come to Bridgewater to fly planes. We fly out of the New Bedford Airport. We have flight simulators right on campus, so very cool and interesting. We have a brand new major started last year for cybersecurity. So that's been a very big and popular major for us. The only program that we direct entry into is our flight training. So students who are interested in the flight training program really need to apply by our early action deadline. That's one of those competitive and limited spot programs. Similar, we can't, in good faith say, sure, come on and fly planes, and we don't have the space or the equipment to be able to do it. Any other program is open. You can come in as undecided. Typically by your sophomore year, we get you to become undecided by working with your advisors and the Academic Achievement Center to sort of explore maybe some of the core courses that you have to take, and maybe you find out, oh, I took psychology, I really like that. Maybe I can delve a little bit further into that particular area. A fairly large student body campus. We hover anywhere between 8,000 to 10,000 students total enrollment. About 7,500 full-time undergrads are on campus, so it's a little bit more manageable when you think of it that way. We have housing for all students that want to live on campus, but obviously given our location, we do still have a good amount of students that commute, and we do offer both merit-based and financial aid opportunities for all of our students as well. There's probably something more that I am forgetting, but we have lots of time to answer questions, so I'm going to pass it along.
Thanks so much. Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Allen. I am an Associate Director of Undergraduate Admission at Boston College in Chestnut Hill. BC is a Catholic Jesuit university. We are also a liberal arts university at our core. So no matter what a student is majoring in, they're taking classes across the curriculum, really providing them with that solid liberal arts foundation to prepare them for life after Boston College. So students will take 15 courses across 10 different academic disciplines throughout their 4 years, in addition to classes that they might take for their major or for their minor. We do ask that students apply directly to one of our 4 academic divisions when they apply for admission. We have our Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, we have our Carroll School of Management, we have our Lynch School of Education and Human Development, and we have our Cannell School of Nursing. For students who are even a little bit interested in one of those 3 pre-professional areas, we do ask that you apply directly to that division coming out of high school. It's going to be very difficult and in some instances impossible to transfer internally once you get to BC. Very easy, however, to transfer out of one of those 3 pre-professional divisions into our Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. Specifically for the Cannell School of Nursing, that is direct entry. You must be admitted coming in as a freshman. You will never be able to transfer in. We also have a relatively new program, it's about 5 years old, human-centered engineering, that's housed within our Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, really combining the liberal arts with STEM and engineering. Our faculty like to say it's for students who are looking to make the world a better place, but that is also a direct entry program. Students must be admitted coming in out of high school. They cannot transfer in once they are there. We're very much a residential campus and community. If students aren't living on campus for all 4 years, the vast majority are living on campus for at least 3 years. And we do have a T-stop right across the street from campus. So it's nice and easy for students to be able to hop on the T, take advantage of all that Boston has to offer, while also having everything that the greater BC community has to offer as well. And again, any other questions afterwards, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for that. I wanted to see if you could all talk a little bit about what you look for in applications. We have a lot of eager young students that are going to be submitting their applications in the fall. What type of things do you look in an application in terms of GPA, test scores? I know SATs are coming up soon for a lot of juniors, and we always talk about test optional, so if you could touch on some of that as well, that would be great.
Awesome. All right, we'll keep going in order. So for WPI's programs, we have a pretty unique way of operating within our courses. We are, much like Northeastern, very experiential in our learning. Most of our courses are project-based. So very hands-on, you're going to get a lot of lab experience, again, real experience starting from your first year as a student. So in our admission process, we're looking for a few things, and fit for us, you'll hear some college counselors, college admissions officers talk a lot about finding your best fit, finding a college that really is somewhere where you can see yourself aligning with what's important to that college, what the college values, what the college offers, and how that resonates with you. So for us in particular, because of kind of the unique way our courses operate and the unique offerings we have, again, a lot of those engineering, science, math courses in particular, we're looking to see that students are showing some evidence right now that they show some traits that will make them successful in kind of that hands-on learning environment. So for us, I think first and foremost, really helpful to see the types of courses that students are taking in their high school. One of the best things that you can do is challenge yourself within the options that your high school offers. So we are evaluating every single applicant within the context of their high school. We're not looking for you to take courses here at Marshfield that were not offered to you, but it's great if you're able to take advantage of some honors, some AP coursework, particularly in that junior and senior year, because to us that shows that you're ready for that fast-paced, challenging work when you get to our campus. One thing that makes our academic year pretty unique is our calendar. We operate on what we call a term system, kind of like a quarter system, where our students take courses 3 at a time over the course of 7 weeks at a time. So each term is a little less than 2 months long. At the end of that 7 weeks, you have finished a semester's worth of work, but it's basically condensed into half. So because of that, if you're already showing us that you're taking some more rigorous, more fast-paced classes, you can handle an honors and an AP course, that's a good indicator to us that you can probably handle that quick pace and those challenging hands-on options once you get to our campus. Obviously, we are looking at your grades, but for us, I think that rigor is really important, and then that you're also doing well, A's and B's in those courses. We're less concerned with straight A's, 4.0 GPA, but you haven't taken anything that's that challenging to you. And then in terms of that fit that I was talking about, we're looking for some indicators, whether within coursework or extracurricular activities or the writing that you do, the essay. We have one small supplemental essay question on our application that basically asks you why WPI, and that is really important in our process. So we'll look to see, again, have you been to campus? Are you talking about some hands-on engineering related things? Not every student does study engineering at WPI, but we love to see students who, again, have worked on teams. That's going to show that you're going to be able to be successful working on a project in an academic setting. We're looking for students who like to see how things work. Maybe you've done a project yourself. Things like that can kind of give us some clues beyond just your coursework and your grades, that you'll be a good fit and you'll enjoy your time on our campus as well. So I'll happy to answer more about that, but I do want to give other folks a chance to speak as well. So for us, rigor, grades, and fit.
For UMass, also when I say UMass, I'm just talking UMass Amherst, not UMass Boston, Dartmouth, or Lowell. Different schools, completely different schools. But for UMass Amherst, the grades are the number one thing that we look at, right? You guys are students first and foremost in high school. When you come to our campus, you're going to be students first and foremost, right? We obviously want you to be involved in high school. We want you to be, a part of your community, a part of your school. But the grades are the biggest indicator for us. So one thing we do with the GPA is we recalculate and re-weight your GPA. So if you're taking honors or AP classes, we're going to give you extra points towards those classes because an 80 in an AP class is just not equivalent to an 80 in a CPA class. That's it's not the same. So we give you the extra points for the more challenging courses. We do like to see that you are challenging yourself. Like Catherine said, we want you to be taking more challenging classes because that's going to translate over to college. College is a more challenging academic classes than high school is, right? A lot more challenging. So we want to see that you're able to do that in high school because then you're going to be successful on our campus. Besides grades, we want you, like I said, to be involved, right? Be a part of clubs. We don't really care what you do, if I'm going to be honest, like the exact activity you do. We don't care. We're curious to see what you get involved with. Like, what are you passionate about? Are you in clubs? Do you play sports? Do you have a job? Do you do volunteer work? Are you a part of community organizations? Do you not do any of that because every day you have to go home and take care of a family member, right? You're an older sibling. You have to watch your younger siblings because your parents work late. Whatever it may be, right? That's an activity as well, really. So it's whatever you do that's not in school, we want to learn about. One thing that we also really value is leadership. We want to see that you're taking on leadership roles within those organizations, within those clubs that you're a part of. We like to see dedication as well with those organizations, right? Join a club, join an organization activity, whatever it is, your first or second year in high school, and then you've stuck with it up until senior year. You've gotten a bit more involved every single year. You're taking on more, responsibility within those activities. Quality is more important to us than quantity of activities, right? I'll be honest, it's fairly easy to be involved in 20 clubs if all you do is show up and write your name on the attendance sheet and then you book it, right? That's easy to do, but it's more difficult to really be involved and actually make an impact within the school and within your community. So that's the type of stuff we'd like to see. Obviously, there's the essay on the Common App, very open-ended. We're just trying to learn more about who you are as a person. I think there's a question about the essays. We'll probably talk about that later on. And then we also have some questions like, why do you want to come to UMass? Why did you choose the major you chose? Things like that. So holistic review, everything does matter to us, but the grades are definitely the most important part and the part that gets weighted the heaviest for us.
Very, very similar to both schools, so I won't repeat too much information. I will say, like, really zooming out, you can tell when a student puts in effort into the application, just general effort. And we know that applying to college is like a part-time job. It's a ton of work, it's a ton of time. Every one of these schools has different deadlines. Every school you apply to has different asks, and we use different terminology. It's exhausting. But to even just put the effort in to have a friend or a teacher or a counselor, you have great resources here to reread for errors, for grammatical errors, spelling errors, to make sure another school's name isn't in that application, right? Like, those are things that actually do mean a lot to us and we genuinely care about because we're taking the time to read the application. So that's just zooming out. I will say, specific to Northeastern, we don't have any supplemental essays. It's just the personal statement on the Common App or Coalition application. And then I'll talk about SAT scores. We are test optional. That happened around COVID. I think it's one of the best things that happened at COVID because, we did require testing and not every student is a great test taker. And this is a little bit of my personal opinion, of course, but I will say that I always recommend students that if they're able to take the SAT or ACT and your scores are reflective of your academic success, then feel free to submit those to a test optional university. If not, then there's no disadvantage, right? We really mean that. So when I say reflective of your academic success, like if you're an all-A student and you get a 1500 on the SAT, that's reflective. If you're an all-A student and you get like 1200 on the SAT, don't send that score. Just don't send it, no problem, and we won't see it, and we won't even know. So just a note about test optional for Northeastern.
So again, very common, you're going to see a lot of similar themes. So for Bridgewater, similar to the UMass system, we're going to have a little bit more focus on the grades first. Where we are governed by a Department of Higher Ed, they kind of set some guidelines for the state schools and the UMasses first. That we have to go kind of along with. So for us, we were accepting 2.8 and higher pretty safely. Anything below a 2.8 is getting an additional review by our Dean of Admission. And in those files, all of those supplemental items will have some sort of impact potentially. It's just that when you are with the state schools, that GPA does have to kind of come first. We are also test optional. We haven't had test scores since before the pandemic. We were piloting it with Salem State and looking at whether or not the one exam versus an overall academic GPA, which one was a little bit more indicative of what a student's potentials were. So again, back then as well, the state schools gave us a sliding scale. So if you had the lower SAT but a higher GPA, or a higher GPA, lower SAT. By the way, I've been doing this for about 21 years at Bridgewater, so yeah. So again, for us, the amount of classes that you take as well, we're going to be looking at for the state schools. It's making sure you have the 17 core courses. We're going to be giving you the additional weight for the honors and AP. A lot more students now are taking advantage of early college or dual enrollment. So those are getting for us an additional weight as well, and we weight it the same as an AP. Side note, if you take AP and you get a 3, 4, or 5 for Bridgewater, make sure you send score reports. If you take in conjunction with your high school or outside college courses, make sure that specific college sends the transcript separately. We can't take it from like your high school transcript where it says you took a dual enrollment your senior year. That's amazing, that's absolutely encouraged. But in order for us to give you the credit, make sure you send us that separate transcript. Anything else in the application is just sort of like gravy on top of everything. So again, the essay is a great place to be able to put something personal to a rather impersonal, application. Any kind of recommendation letters are not required for us, but certainly encouraged. Students can add anything to their files that they would like, and if it's there, we will read it. Great places to highlight or to explain things that have happened throughout the course of your high school career. So those are just some places that we'll look for different things.
Excellent. Echoing a lot of what's been said already, but at BC, certainly the high school transcript is the most important part of our process. Students who were admitted last year really had taken the most demanding curriculum that the high school had to offer, again, evaluating you within the context only of what Marshfield has to offer. And then in conjunction to that, students had about an A to an A- average. Most demanding certainly is taking advantage of honors and AP courses, but we're really also looking at students who have taken 4 years of the 5 major course subject areas, especially for the juniors in the room right now who might be thinking ahead to course selection for next year. You can never go wrong by taking a 4th year of a subject, whether that be a 4th year of a science or a social studies or a foreign language. For students who are interested in studying business, you might want to ask each individual school if they are requiring calculus. For us, students in the Carroll School of Management, if they don't have calculus in high school, that really can be a deal breaker in the application process. So we really are digging a little bit deeper. We do have a supplement that's part of our application, and that's where we're really assessing fit and match to BC. Something that hasn't been brought up tonight yet is demonstrated interest, but some colleges are really paying attention to how you've interacted with the university. Have you visited campus? Have you connected with us as reps? At BC, we're not taking demonstrated interest into account, and so the supplement is really our way to assess fit and match to the university. We also don't interview as part of our process, so I think oftentimes students really focus on the main common application essay, and for many students the supplements are an afterthought, especially because at lots of colleges they're pretty short. They could be anywhere from 150 to 250 to 400 words, but I would argue sometimes that the supplements are more important than that main common application essay because the college is actually asking the specific question that they want answered. So again, very general, lots of what my colleagues have said tonight, it certainly is applicable to our process, but I think you've got some good tips, and there's one more to go down at the end.
Howdy folks. First off, just want to apologize for my tardiness. I ran into an issue with my rental car, but we're here. So if y'all don't mind, I just want to start off with a brief introduction of myself, the school, and it sounds like we're kind of talking about the application process and sort of what that looks like. So again, hello, my name is Kevin Krantz. I'm an admissions officer from the University of Connecticut, based out at the Storrs campus, the flagship public state university in Connecticut. A little smaller than UMass, but a lot of similarities between the two schools in a lot of ways. Amherst, that is, again, sorry, let me make sure I'm a little smaller than UMass Amherst, right, just to make sure we're all on the same page there. I have been recruiting, me personally, have been recruiting in Eastern Massachusetts for the last 3.5 years now. So I've been reading a bunch of applications, especially from Marshfield High School, as we are in that process of wrapping things up and deciding what our class next year looks like. A little bit more about UConn itself. All right, so we're about 2.5 hours or so from here. When you leave around 4:15 on a Thursday night when your rental shows up late. So, take that into consideration in terms of the distance, depending on when you would like to travel there or travel home from there. And really, that's the Storrs campus. That's our main campus where most of our students are. Our total population across all 5 campuses of UConn is around 25,000. Just at the Storrs campus, we have around 19 to 20,000 students. They have 120 something different majors to choose from across 10 different schools and colleges, lots of options. Speaking about the culture, the identity of UConn, we are definitely a bit of a sports school. If you have not seen our Lady Huskies play basketball, you're probably living under a rock, no offense. But they are incredibly dominant, and certainly we love going to basketball games, we love cheering on our student athletes, a big part of what it means to be a Husky. So yeah, just in very brief intro as to who I am and then sort of who we are at UConn. In terms of the application process, again, echoing what my colleagues have said, we have a holistic review process. We're looking at everything, certainly grades, the GPA. We also recalculate GPAs, and we are giving you that additional credit for honors and AP as well. My personal favorite bit, if I'm letting some of my own opinion out here, I love reading the essays, and I think it really is the best way for me to learn the most about you through your own words and your own voice. And my whole goal in reading applications is to learn everything I can about you. And I got like 40 pages to do that. So when you're applying over 3 years of experience in high school and an entire life lived before that you need to squeeze down into 30 to 40 pages. So the essay is a great tool for me to learn as much as I can about you in that window in your own voice. Letters of recommendation, similarly, love reading those. We encourage to get to that same piece of learning what I can about you, but through the eyes of a trusted advisor, whether that's your school counselor, or a teacher, or a coach, or a religious advisor, or someone at a community service organization you're a part of. As long as it's not a family member, it does not matter to us who it is or where that letter comes from. So, again, I know that's very brief, rapid, but with that, I think we'll continue.
Thank you so much. You talked a little bit about college essays. One of my favorite parts of these evenings is when you all share your stories about reading essays. I think I've read a lot of essays over the past 20 years. I've read a lot of essays about students winning the game or losing the big game. I would love to hear your specific stories of maybe an essay that stood out to you, and maybe you could give an example of, to maybe inspire some of these students when it comes time for them to write their essays.
Lucky for you guys, I'm actually taking notes on all of the essays I've read this year, so I'm just going to run through a few because I feel like everyone always panics about what do I write my essay about. So here's a couple, Here's a couple examples. Being the only boy in a family and having 7 older sisters, sports injuries, collecting random objects like soda can tabs, rocks, coins, a grandmother with Alzheimer's, my love of Chips Ahoy cookies, being in a refugee camp in Cairo, Egypt at the start of the Sudanese Civil War, being scared to get on the school bus on first day of kindergarten, being a picky eater, being one of the few black kids in the new town, the love of the beach, crocheting, having an older sister with special needs, my dance community, the love of cheese, my love of cereal, being an identical twin with completely opposite personalities, having a pet pig in a New York City apartment, and then the next one's very sad. So I'm not going to go with that one, but so just to show you, right, there's all different types of essays. It's not like, there's not one topic that we're looking for. We're just trying to, like what Kevin was saying, like we're just trying to learn more about who you are as a person. Try to get your character, try to get your personality, to speak through that essay. And it's also capped at 650 words now on the Common App, which is nice. You don't have to, I never worked when it was like 10-page essays. I was still a student in college, but since I've been working, it's been capped, so definitely don't miss reading. Well, I never did it, but yeah. We don't need 10-page essays, so.
I think oftentimes I've had students say to me in the past, well, nothing life-altering has happened to me. That's okay, right? You're 17, you're 18. For the most part, you haven't done anything to save the world yet. You haven't cured cancer yet. Maybe some of you are sitting in that room in front of us, but to echo my colleagues, just learning more about what you've done, what matters to you, how you've impacted your community. One of my favorite essays that I've ever read was from a student. He was the oldest of 5 siblings, and he wrote about how his mom put him in charge of making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch every day. And it started when he was 10, so he had to make him and his siblings peanut butter and jelly. It started and it was a disaster. There was jelly all over the kitchen, peanut butter was everywhere, he could barely get the sandwiches in a bag, but then he started to enlist the help of his younger siblings. And basically he talked about that over the course of 6 years, he got this peanut butter and jelly making down to an art, and it taught him how to teach his siblings how to do something. He took leadership, he created an assembly line, and he kind of tied it back to other parts of his life. He was very funny, he was very articulate, it was very well written, but again, not earth-shattering, right? Just talked about making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch. So I think sometimes it's good to really take a step back and talk to family members, talk to siblings. What are you good at? What are you kind of known for in the family? Sometimes that can be a good way to start brainstorming about different things.
Yeah, I think a few others have said this earlier for an earlier question, but we also at WPI are not able to offer interviews to students who apply. So I often tell students that the essay is like the one place in your application where we really get to see your personality. Feel like we're reading something in your voice, like others have said, that maybe doesn't come across elsewhere on the application. It truly is somewhere, I think, that's like fully under your control, right? You can't always control the grade that you got in class, you can't always control your SAT score, but you have 100% control over what you write in that essay. So I think another way that might be helpful to think about it, if you're struggling to kind of pick a topic or something to write about or a story to tell, I was formerly a high school English teacher, and I worked a lot with juniors writing college essays. And sometimes I would tell them to just think about it kind of from the opposite end. What is something that you think is really helpful for colleges to know about you? What do you think that they should know is like one of your strongest traits? If we asked your best friend, like, how would they describe you? And then you can kind of think about what might be a story or an anecdote or a reflection to write about that shows that thing. So is there something that you really want to be included as part of your application that maybe didn't come across elsewhere? This might be your place to tell that story.
Hello? Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. Thought I was off for a second there. Just one last comment I want to throw in there. When you're in the process of writing your essay, you complete it, have it be something that you yourself would want to read afterwards, right? If a random essay came across your desk somehow, when you have that finished product, have it be something that you yourself find interesting and you yourself would like to read and would enjoy reading. Because I think that really showcases not only you and like your interest and that sort of in a way, but like it really gives a sense as to on an additional like meta level almost, right? Like you're not only talking about the interest or the passion or experience that you have, but in doing so, the very writing itself is expressing on another level that it is something that you enjoy. So just another thing to consider.
All right. I have a question. I'm pivoting a little bit about the application timeline. There's early action, early decision, regular decision. Could you give some advice to the audience as to sort of what type of student would apply early action or early decision or regular decision, and then give a little bit of data as far as what percentage of applicants actually apply early and how many get in early? And the third part of the question is, does financial aid get impacted if students apply early action versus regular decision?
Okay, so you're probably going to get a different answer from each of us. So for Bridgewater, early action, November 15th, regular decision, February 15th. The difference between early action and early decision is early action, you apply early, you hear early, typically mid to late December, but you still have until May 1st to deposit. May 1st is that what they call universal candidate reply date, so you're depositing to somebody to indicate that you are going to be attending their university. Early decision is binding. If you are accepted, you are committed. So the way that Bridgewater likes to look at early action is that we encourage all students to do our early action deadline. Typically, you don't have anything yet from senior year, so this could be something that you'll have to consider. So typically by that November 15th deadline, we only have freshman, sophomore, and junior year to look at. The way that we like to do it is that if you aren't able to be accepted for early action, we don't deny, we defer you to the next round of applications for further consideration. So additional grades from senior year can come in. If you happen to take SATs, if you happen to have additional things that you would like us to consider, you have the ability to continuously funnel new information to us. The Dean of Admissions would look at all of those students later on in the regular decision cycle and see what new information has come in. Did the GPA go up? Is there some additional information that we can consider? And then that's how we would be looking at those deferral applications. Regular decision for us is you are reviewed once and the decision has been made. If you don't like the decision, you do have the ability to appeal. Again, if you had some additional information that wasn't available at the time of application or at the time of decision that you would like us to look at, you can always appeal with the Dean of Admission. He absolutely takes a look at all those things. So again, I think you're gonna get a little bit of a different answer from each of us, but so for Bridgewater, early action is what we encourage. We don't deny, we defer. You have the ability to add additional information. And a good amount of our students are applying the early action deadline and getting that decision, which is really, really nice, sometimes even before Christmas. So it's a nice little thing to help make senior year a little easier.
So again, very different at BC. We do not have early action. We have binding early decision 1, binding early decision 2, and regular decision. So binding early decision 1 is November 1st for students who have identified BC as a top choice, or for any school that has binding early decision. If you've identified that school as a top choice, there's no place else that you'd rather be. You, a parent or guardian, and a school counselor sign on the dotted line saying, if admitted, I will enroll. So at Boston College this past year, we accepted about 30% of students who applied early decision 1. We accepted about 25% of students who applied early decision 2, and we accepted about 10% of students who applied regular decision. So students who are saying, yes, if admitted, I will enroll, certainly have a leg up in our process. We filled this year about 60% of our first year class through students who applied early decision 1 or early decision 2. At BC, we meet 100% of demonstrated financial need. So for families who are eligible for financial aid, your financial aid package is going to be as competitive at BC as it would be anywhere. We always encourage families to fill out the net price calculator on our financial aid website, and provided that your family's finances are relatively straightforward, that estimate that you get from the net price calculator will be very similar to what you would get for a need-based financial aid package. So we always say to families, if you feel good with what that net price calculator says, you can feel good with submitting an early decision application. We are not going to penalize a family for not being eligible for financial aid if you're applying early decision. We don't, however, have robust merit scholarships. So for families who are seeking merit aid, applying early decision 1 or early decision 2, certainly at Boston College, would not be the way to go. Those families would be encouraged to apply regular decision.
Happy to go. Actually, that's pretty similar, with, of course, some differences. I guess I'll start the same way. We have early decision 1 and early action at November 1st, and then early decision 2 and regular decision at January 1st. So each major deadline has a binding and non-binding option. We do take about 50% of the incoming class through early decision 1 and early decision 2 combined, so pretty similar. We see early action as if your application is ready to go, then we would encourage you to submit at early action, but there's no advantage similar to early decision, right? Like that is the advantage there. Regular decision, I would say if you really need to wait to share some first semester, trimester, term grades, then that's a good way to go, but would, between the non-binding options, probably lean early action. We also need full demonstrated financial need regardless of what application category you choose. We have merit scholarships. There's not a ton of them, but regardless of application category, you are automatically considered for those. There's no additional application, there's no additional check mark. You're automatically considered for those. But again, they are pretty competitive. I think that's it.
So UMass, we have early action and regular decision. So we don't do the early decision. We don't have any binding options. You choose early action, which is due early November, or you choose regular decision, which is due mid-January. Exact date, don't worry about that. So the difference between early action and regular decision for us is early action, you hear back earlier. Every single student who applies early action, they heard on January 16th of this year. We released 34,000 decisions for those students. Students who are applying regular decision, so far we have about 18,000 applications, 19,000. Those students are going to hear March 6th. Actually, today's the first day that we get to tell everyone that. So March 6th, big news. Not that any of you probably care about that right now, but counselors, it's big news, right? Yeah. So that's the two of the differences. The big difference is that if you apply early action, like some of my colleagues were saying, we aren't necessarily going to be seeing your senior fall grades, right? We start reading applications on November 7th. Senior fall is not done on November 7th. Grades aren't finalized. We don't take mid-semester grades. We don't take mid-year reports. We need finalized quarter one or end of semester grades to include that into your GPA. So students typically who are applying early action are those students who don't need us to see their senior fall grades. They are happy, they are content, they are proud of what their first 3 years of high school looked like, and they're cool with us just seeing those 3 years. Students who are applying regular decision either just didn't get the application done in time, which is fine, right? Don't send it in if it's not complete to any of us. None of us want to read an incomplete application just to get it in early. That's not the point of that. Or there's students who might have had it up and down throughout high school, right? Where the first year in high school was a little rough because middle school to high school is a big jump, right? And you struggled in some classes, but you've been working your way back up. You've been working your GPA up, or you were sick one semester and your grades tanked because you were in and out of school all the time, right? That's understandable. We get that, right? Obviously explain to us, give us some context as to what happened, right? But those are the students that would benefit from having the senior fall grades fully included into their GPA, right? Senior fall is also the most, the best representation of you guys as students. Although we do look at all 4 years of your high school, and all of it does matter, senior fall is, the closest to the student that we're going to be getting on our campus, right? So big difference is, do you want us to see senior fall grades or not? Totally up to you. We don't do deferments. We won't switch, we won't push you from early action to regular decision. If you apply one or the other, you hear admit, waitlist, deny. That's it. I think that's it.
Awesome. So WPI-wise, we are a little bit unique. We have 3 different deadlines, 3 different timeframes at which you can apply. Essentially, we offer all of the options that you've heard other colleges talk about. So our first round, we offer both the binding early decision option, ED1, as well as early action at that same deadline. That's November 1st. So as others have said, early decision is we are your #1 choice. It is a binding admission process. So if you are admitted, you're committing to enroll at WPI. Essentially, you've done all your research, you've done all your homework, and you're ready to make that commitment to coming and attending as a member of the incoming class. Early action is great if you're very interested in us, maybe we're one of your top choices, but again, you want to wait until May 1st or thereabouts to make your final decision. So early action is non-binding. We offer the same 2 choices at round 2, which for us is January 5th. So early decision round 2, early action round 2, essentially the same thing, it's just a later option. And our regular decision deadline, latest time you can apply, is February 1st. So we're a little bit different than a lot of the other schools out there. For us, I would say it's really a question of interest. It is very helpful for us to see that if you are really looking at WPI, again, in one of your top choices, that you have applied at one of those 2 early deadlines. We get a little bit more selective with each consecutive round, especially because we have 3 rounds. So it's going to be the highest chance of acceptance. We have our most students accepted kind of percentage-wise at round 1. And then it gets a little bit more competitive at EA, ED2, and the most competitive round is regular decision, because by that point, we've already seen 2 rounds of really qualified and really interested students. So our kind of main advice for students who are strongly considering us is consider applying at one of those 2 early stages. Whether you choose binding early decision or non-binding early action is essentially up to you. Are you ready to really say we're your 100% number 1 choice, or are we up there but you still want to leave your options open? For us, the time frame in which you apply does not impact your eligibility for financial aid, so you'll have the same consideration at regular as you would early round 1. We are an institution that is not able to meet full demonstrated financial need. We don't guarantee that. We might need it, but we don't guarantee that we'll be able to do that for every single student. So great to, again, if you're not fully sure about the financial piece, you want to keep your options open from other schools, early action is a great choice. You'll hear back from us sooner, but you don't have to commit without seeing your financial aid package.
All right, the 6th person to go and the 6th person to say, we do things a little different at our school. So at UConn, we have early decision and regular decision. We don't have early action. Our early decision deadline is November 1st, the same as many of the other. Just 1 round of early decision. And then our regular decision deadline is January 15th. And then that is our hard cutoff for stores. We do keep the application open later for our other regional campuses, but stores hard cutoff is January 15th. In terms of some data as what we've seen, we're still pretty new to early decision, or I should say early decision is new to us. This is only our 2nd year that we offered it as an option for students to apply. In terms of volume of applications, we received a little around like 1,500 to 1,700, kind of in that range in the early decision pool. And our acceptance rate for early decision was around 53, 54%, which lines up with our overall admit rate of around 53% anyway. So in terms of acceptance, things didn't differ too much from applying early decision versus regular decision. The big factor there is really what we've seen in terms of what it comes down to is the likelihood of getting the main campus in stores. So students who applied in the early decision window were more likely to receive our stores campus, whereas students who are applying regular decision are more likely to still very likely to get stores, but they may be sent to Stanford, Hartford, where we also have housing for our students. So that's one factor that we've seen between the early decision window and the regular decision window for us. Talking about the financial aid piece, we do not meet full financial need. And if you're applying early decision, you will not have a need-based aid package when you receive that offer. So you need to have your application in by November 1st. You're going to receive that early decision offer in mid-December. That will be either an accept, a defer, or a deny. And then you'll have until January 15th if you were accepted to commit to that binding agreement. Our financial aid packages go out with our regular decision offers in early March. So you are committing to attend UConn not knowing what that financial aid piece is going to look like. We do award merit scholarships, and you will have that merit scholarship as a part of that offer if it was awarded to you. Last year, it was about 70% of our students came in with gift aid, so either scholarships or grants. So we try to make it feasible, but certainly important to know that you will not know for sure what your financial aid package will look like if you're applying early decision when you commit to attending UConn. So just something, again, please be very aware of that. Also, I do want to mention, similarly, we have a few special programs for students who are looking to do like a combined BSMD, BSJD, or a BSDMD. If you're applying to one of those special programs, that offer also comes out with the regular decision. So if you're applying early decision and you receive that early decision offer, you'll know if you got into UConn, you won't know if you got into the special program in medicine or law or dental medicine. So another thing to consider if you are thinking about applying to one of those programs, that offer doesn't come until regular decision release in early March.
Rebecca, I think you said that Boston College does not track demonstrated interest, and Phil, you've mentioned that to me in the past also, correct? UMass and BC does not. How about the rest of you? Do you track demonstrated interest?
Not necessarily track. We, in most schools, have what they call a CRM that takes all of the times that you've interacted with. Either you've attended a college fair, you filled out one of the cards, you came for a campus visit, signed that up, you came to an open house. So it's in there only, I guess for Bridgewater to see what things people are interacting us with and how we can make those interactions maybe a little bit better, or, you know, do we do this or do they like this versus this? So it's more for our needs as opposed to demonstrated interest.
I will say that another post-COVID, kind of post-COVID thing is that we have offered such an array of options to engage with the university, right? So that could be in person, it could be virtual. We would hope that if you're applying to Northeastern, that you've done something, right? Or any school, whether that be a virtual session or an in-person session or tour, whatever that may be. So it's something that we look at, but it's not the end-all be-all. Like if you have done every virtual session, every in-person session, and all of that, that's wonderful, and I'm so happy for you, but it's not gonna guarantee you or significantly help you get a positive decision.
At WPI, we do track demonstrated interest. I mentioned at the beginning that fit is big for us, so kind of going along with that, if you have engaged with us in the process, that is something that we look at in terms of you've shown that you've come to our campus, you've made the drive, you've attended a college fair, you've done some sort of event. That does help your case in terms of our review of your application. We are very holistic in our process as well. So we will look at every single thing in your app, and that demonstrated interest is just one more piece. So by itself, coming to visit our campus is not going to be the end-all be-all deciding that you are admitted. But if you are kind of in that, borderline area and you have visited campus or you have engaged with us at a campus event or a virtual event, or you've done some other WPI sponsored activity, that can help to kind of move the needle in terms of, well, they're pretty qualified. We maybe had this question, but they've also seen us at XYZ. So we feel good that they're showing a degree of considering us in their process. So for us, short version, demonstrated interest does matter. And those early deadlines that I mentioned are also a way to show that you're interested. So even if you're not able to make it to campus yet, but you applied early action 1 right out the gate, that to us is an indicator that, again, you're seriously considering us. So that helps as well.
Similar to Bridgewater, we track everything. We know everything. It just doesn't affect your application. Like we see when you open your email, we see the time down to the second. It's a little weird how much we can see, honestly, on Slate, CRM, yeah. So yeah, we can see it all, but it just doesn't impact your application at all. But we track it. Trust me, we track it.
For our purposes.
For UConn, in terms of the application process, we do not take demonstrated interest into account. I think the only time it will is if we have a student who got waitlisted and we are potentially going to the waitlist and bringing students into the class, then we will take demonstrated interest into account. So the student who was waitlisted and has shown a lot of interest in UConn, that is something we'll factor in that one instance. Otherwise, we do not. But yes, similarly, we can also see everything. I would also mention that purely from a psychological perspective, if I see your name in my inbox because you emailed me, I will remember you when I read your application, and that will probably be favorable to you. So no, demonstrated interest does not matter, but email me because, again, subconsciously speaking, it will likely be a positive for you.
Okay, now I'm gonna put my counselor hat on and say, forget everything they just said right there. Demonstrated interest, we're not playing a game here, but the most important thing that you guys have to remember, and I'm speaking for the counseling staff here, is if you're applying to any of these schools right here that are within a couple of hours, right, you have to get on the campuses. We talk about the fit, right? You can't tell if it's the right fit if you haven't walked that campus. If you haven't seen what the dining halls are like, right, Phil? If you haven't gone to a BC game or gone to the WPI campus and seen how great Worcester is. It's an up-and-coming college town, not even up-and-coming, it's a college town, city. It's amazing. Go to Gamble. Go see Hurley yelling at the refs. Like, you have to experience the campus because you have to determine if it's the right fit for you. So regardless of demonstrated interest, go tour the campus, please. That's it. Yeah, we don't want to keep these guys too late, but we'd like to give you all an opportunity to ask a few questions of the reps, maybe 10 minutes or so. Does that seem reasonable? Does anyone have any questions? I can run around with the microphone, yeah. Trying to get the pretty lady in the purple, pink, whatever that is. You're welcome.
Hi, thanks for being here. So I just finished reading Jeff Salingo's Who Gets In and Where.
Great book, by the way.
And I'm curious, when you read applications, do you pull all the applications from one high school and compare them against each other or against area high schools? And the second part of that is, I know you have a school profile, but how do you consider an application when it comes from a high school where you haven't had many applicants? Is that usually a hindrance or a help? Thank you.
So I get that question a lot where it's like, oh, well, how many kids do you accept from Marshfield? If every single student is qualified, every single kid's getting in, right? One thing that I should note is that at UMass, we read major by major. Every major has a different qualification thing that we're looking for, a different GPA we look for, right? So that has a huge impact. But as to where you go to school, the only part that would impact is, like, we've mentioned it a couple times, but like, do they offer certain classes, right? Some schools just don't offer AP, so that's like, we're not gonna hold that against the student for, well, you didn't take APs, well, there was no APs offered. That's not your fault, it's not even the school's fault, it's kind of the school's fault, right? But no, it would never, it's never something like that. And then if there's a student applying from a school that we have never been to, we get that a lot. I will say, we just hired 3 new people within our office that are based in Chicago, the DMV area, and Long Island. We have a guy in Seattle. We have a woman down in Texas. We recruit all across the entire United States, right? I've been out to California, Idaho, Denver, it's Colorado, Washington, Oregon, right? So we get tons of applications from all these random schools we've never heard of before. So that's why the school profile comes in handy, where it's like, let's learn about this school, let's see like what type of curriculum it is. Also, that's where the guidance letters of recommendation are very helpful, because they give us a little bit of a background on the school. Sometimes some counselors don't, but obviously with like Marshfield, like, we know your school, we get tons we know your school, right? So yeah, I think that answers it.
I think this is going to be another one of those, you're going to get a different answer from everybody on how they read. So for Bridgewater, even though we travel by territory, we read by alpha split, and that's just to help keep things mathematically even amongst our staff. I, in particular, end up reading less freshman files because I have half of a transfer population that I read for. But again, I'm originally from Hanover, so Marshfield is definitely in my old stomping grounds, and I'm very familiar with all of Plymouth County that I now have assigned. And again, some counselors read by territory, some read by the major because of the requirements. And then in terms of sometimes I'm always amazed at when I'm reading applications or I get a file from XY school in California. We don't travel to California, so I'm always like, how did you find us? So again, the profile, the counselor letter, anything additional in the application doesn't, it just gives us more information that we can kind of glean from.
I think it's fair to say that, yes, you're competing against other students from Marshfield High School, but you're also competing against everybody else in the entire applicant pool. At BC, we do read based on territory, so I read all applications from the vast majority of the South Shore. I will try to read as many applications from one high school as I can, provided that they're complete, just because my head is kind of in that mindset, right? I look at the school profile and then I know I could just kind of can get through applications a little bit more quickly rather than jumping to a high school in DC, to a high school in Switzerland, back to another high school from the South Shore. But again, every school will share something a little bit different.
I'll just briefly add as well, similar to what Philip said, I think at WPI we don't have quotas for individual high schools, so I am the counselor that does read from Marshfield, and I'll typically try to read all of the students at a given round from a high school together because I'm familiar with, okay, I just looked at their profile, reminded myself what they offer, and I'm kind of in the mindset of Marshfield. But if everyone is qualified, then they would all get in. So it's not like, oh, I can only take 2, let me compare. What class did this student take, or this student has an A-, this student has a B+, it's not like that. So really we're looking at, again, to echo, but did that student take advantage of rigorous coursework? Was there kind of a trend to the activities that they pursued? Do they seem like they might be interested in us? Hopefully. But if everyone is strong, then everyone would be admitted.
We also, okay. We also read by territory. I couldn't agree more. It is really, really helpful to be in that mindset of consistency. And there's so many different ways it can be done. I haven't even really thought about that. And I think it's super helpful to see the profile. I think it's the most helpful thing. And frankly, if I don't understand a profile, so if there is a new school, thankfully, we have a counselor's information, and I will email, call, whatever I gotta do to figure out. Sometimes schools offer a class that has like the funkiest name, or some schools offer courses that like some are leveled and some are not, but they don't say that. They might say it on the profile, but not the transcript. And so there's so many complexities. Thankfully, this high school, it's not complex, right? So that's really, I think, helpful on your side of things. So, yeah.
You hear me? Yeah, now you can. Hello. I have a question about, I'd like a little more advice about once you've been on the tour, seeing the campus, and you want a little more information about the particular school and what their program might be like. If you know what you want to study and just kind of want to get a feeling for what that school might be offering in a very specific major.
Yeah. I would say reach out to that specific either college within any of our universities, or even that specific department, or even the specific major. I can't speak about everyone else, but I'm sure it's the same for everyone. All of our advisors, everyone who works on our campus, they're very happy to talk to all of you guys as well, right? Also, as knowledgeable as we all are about our individual schools, we don't know everything, right? I can't give you answers on, a kid today was asking me, they were like, what classes am I taking junior year for computer science? I was like, I couldn't tell you, bud, I'm sorry. But it's on the website and there's contact info, right? I think another great way to utilize the contacts is to reach out to the tour guides, reach out to the student ambassadors. They are the ones that are 3 years older than all of you guys, right? They're the ones living in the shoes that you're going to be living in a couple of years. Some of them are 2 years older than you, right? So I always direct students, if I can't answer the question, great, to go talk to the people that are actually doing what you want to be doing right now. They can give you a rundown of their class schedule and the clubs they're involved in, and don't take it from this professor, they're kind of mean, this professor's awesome, certain things like that. So definitely just reach out. All of our websites have all the contact information and everything, or feel free to reach out to any of us, and then we can get you in contacted or connected with those specific people as well. Yeah.
So my question, My question is basically about the same. So we actually toured Northeastern on Martin Luther King Day, and Matthew is very interested in cybersecurity. At the end of the tour, he said to me, "Mom, this school is all liberal arts." So I actually ended up calling admissions and saying that, and then learning that there's a specific, I'm going to say it wrong, Kahori school, and that I should have done that tour. So within the field of cybersecurity, are there specific tours? Because when we went to Northeastern, we did not get a tour guide specific to the major that he wanted to do. So when you go to tour your schools, are you given a tour guide who is specific to the major that you're looking for? Also, are there like opportunities to, I don't know, talk to a student or tour, drop in a class or something when you're trying to make that decision as to which is the best fit?
I was there that day, so I hope I saw you or you saw my face in some way. Great point. We have, I'll start high level. We have about 100,000 people that visit campus every year, the Boston campus. So we cannot guarantee that you will get a tour guide that is connected to the major you're interested in. I would love to do that. We do have about 250 tour guides in our Husky Ambassador program. Go Huskies. But I will say that we do offer college-specific sessions, both virtually and in person through the visitor center. Typically not on a holiday, which I know is not ideal, not on a Saturday either, but we are open, but not all of our campus partners are open. So that's of course a busy day. I always recommend connecting with a counselor or student after your tour, even if you haven't talked to someone yet, and saying like, hey, I've heard nothing about cybersecurity, computer science, would love to learn more. And we might say like, we don't have anyone here today, but here, let me give you the contact for another Husky ambassador, the contact for our enrollment manager in the Corey College of Computer Science. You nailed it. And so we have tons of resources we could give, but yeah, unfortunately, we're just not able to connect every student to a tour guide with the major of their interest. But thanks, Sir Tor.
I know that question was for Northeastern, but I'm just going to jump in real quick too, sorry. I think all of our colleges also hold open houses in the fall. Open houses typically are for prospective students, you guys, right? In the spring, it's admitted students. Next year, once you get admitted, you can come. But that'd be a great way to get connected with the people that work in those departments, to talk to students who are those majors that you specifically are interested in. At least at UMass, like you can meet with professors within a specific major, advisors, the dean of those colleges. You can learn a lot more than just a general tour. Again, because a lot of our schools are on the larger side, there's no way that we can, fit in all 100 majors within a 90-minute walking tour, because it would be like a 6-hour tour and then everyone gets grumpy because it's a 6-hour tour. So that's why there's like the open houses, which are super beneficial to go to as well. And it's a much longer day, a lot more, sessions that you can attend, and, far more things you can learn.
Real briefly, again, just speaking to the room generally, I know we at UConn also offer a program called Husky for a Day, where you actually have the opportunity to go to campus, go to class with a current student, go to lunch with that student, and in that Husky for a Day program, you're matched up hopefully with someone who has the same major, if not the same major, at least in the same school or college, right? So if you were doing cybersecurity, computer science, if you weren't matched up with a computer science student, you would at least have an engineering student, whether that's mechanical, electrical, something adjacent, right? So that's a program that we offer that really allows you to go into more, a little bit more in depth and actually be on campus and sit in a class and fully experience what it's like to be a student at UConn.
Any final questions? I know a lot of schools are saying that they're test optional now, but I'm just wondering, with my older kids, they definitely spent a lot of time doing SAT prep through programs, and which ended up being costly and ended up, helping them, but there's also a huge time commitment as well. Do you think Like at this point, like at that time, it wasn't really, they weren't as, well, I guess maybe for one of them might have been test optional, but anyway, at this point, like would you still invest that time and money into SAT prep? If you, I don't know, what's your suggestion?
I would say if you're looking for a specific program, and probably maybe like a more competitive program, like a nursing or an engineering or one of those just, again, maybe a niche type of program where they are requiring the SATs, then I would say yes. And it's hard to say too because, we don't require SATs at all. I would never tell a student, don't take the SATs, because if your major changes or anything, you want to keep all those doors as open as possible. But again, without stressing them to such an extent that, that high stakes test would have no impact on us because we wouldn't look at it whatsoever. But again, if you're looking for a really specific program and those programs are going to be looking for students that have those SATs, then yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so BC kind of falls into a little bit of a gray area. So we are test optional, but last year about 75% of students who applied submitted test scores. So I would say we're a little bit more test preferred. I think it's fair to say that everybody should take the SAT or the ACT. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself a little bit later on in the process. And I think it depends on the list of schools that you're looking at. But yes, I mean, there are some colleges and universities that are going to say, yeah, you absolutely should spend the money on that test prep course. And then there are other places that were test optional for years pre-pandemic and are going to be test optional well into the future. So another it depends answer.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's such a
Yeah, I'll just quickly add too, I think this is a great one. Feel welcome to ask at schools that you visit or via email. I think this is one of those things that's rapidly changing and it is really treated differently at each school, so it's great to know. I know for us, we'll be pretty candid with families that we are test optional and it is truly optional, but that's not to say that if you fall, we'll also publicize like our middle 50%, and if you're in that middle 50% or higher, like it can be helpful. Some schools, this is not us, but I will also say I think there are some colleges that SATs can be helpful for merit scholarships. So just another one where ask each individual school, because if it is a school that your student is really interested in, it could behoove you at that institution.
UMass is test optional and we're planning on being test optional. I haven't heard anything different. There's two majors on our campus that majority of students do submit their test scores, or SAT. No one takes the ACT anymore for us. We never see ACTs. But that's computer science and engineering. Those are the two majors that majority of students do submit it. Every other major, it's like less than 15% of students. In general for UMass, it's about 20. Last year it was 22% of students submitted their SAT. If you were to ask me professionally, I would say if you think it's a good representation of you, you should send it in. If you were to ask me as a 17-year-old high school student who was an awful test taker, I'd say absolutely not, I'm not taking the SAT. But that's because I was bad at taking tests, and if it's optional, I wouldn't. At my time, I wouldn't have taken it.
I know still take it, but I'm like thinking, my other students spend a lot of time prepping with coursework, but should probably do the same thing.
I'm going to jump in here real quick if you don't mind. I think you have to utilize us in this case. They're going to speak from their own individual schools. If I look at your child's list of schools, and I think somebody mentioned that, if I see the list of schools, if I see the PSAT, if they come at me, I usually say, take the SAT, show me what those scores are. And for the most part, I can say, okay, in your case, it's probably a good idea to do some test prep, because you're at that like 1,300, and maybe we can get you up to a 14, or maybe you're at 14. If you're coming in less than that 1,250, I'm probably going to say it's not going to be worth it, and it really is going to depend on the list of schools, what the major is. There's a lot of variables, but I think use us. That's why we're here. So please set up a meeting, come in, send us an email, phone call, anything like that.
And I'd like to use this as an opportunity to give a shameless plug to the guidance newsletter that we send out at the first of every month. In February's edition of the newsletter, I have a lot of information about SAT prep. I do include information of courses that you can pay for, but I put that at the bottom because there's so many free resources that you can take advantage of, and I'm including information about that, and I think it's super helpful for students to spend a little bit of time. I don't think that they necessarily need to spend hours and hours, but I think a lot of it is exposing yourself, take a practice test, get yourself to see the questions, and get yourself to think the way the questions are asked prior to taking the test. So that will be going out next week, so make sure you read it. I want to take this time to thank everybody for coming. You guys were amazing, so helpful. Appreciate it. You guys drove from all over on this cold night, so thank you, and thank you to all you guys that came out. Like Mr. Ruska said, please take advantage of us. We meet with the students regularly. They're welcome to come down, but if you have questions, you can reach out to us anytime as well. We're happy to work with you. And we'll be having a college planning night in the fall for seniors where we kind of go through things in detail as well. But again, we're always available for questions at any time. Thank you guys.